So we read in John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments. Then in Matthew 5:19, it says that those who ever break one of these least commandments and teaches others to do so will be least in the kingdom, outside the kingdom. And those who do the commandments and teach others to do so will be called greatest in the kingdom. And then verse 20, for I say unto you that except your righteousness exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall in no case enter the kingdom of heaven. So what's that talking about? So the scribes and Pharisees, and this is like also a spiritual condition of people. Scribes and Pharisees, the leaven of the scribes and Pharisees is hypocrisy, and so that can be anyone. It's a heart posture, but there was a literal example in the Bible. So these people would do all these outward signs, like, specifically paying tithes. So it's like outward acts, their own works, to appear righteous on the outside. But what is the righteousness of God? So Deuteronomy 6:25 says that it's our righteousness if we keep the commandments. Pretty straightforward. So it's the 10 Commandments. What was I going to say? Yeah, so your righteousness has to exceed the Pharisees. You become righteous. There's a sanctification process, but righteous through the commandments. That is biblical perfection if you keep the 10 Commandments and teach others to do so. And that includes no pagan idolatry, Christmas and Easter. You have to keep the Sabbath day holy. It's Saturday dawn to Sunday dawn. It's a sign that you are God's people. It's a day of rest. It's not a burden. But yeah, so in Matthew 23, it's also in Luke 11. But yeah, it's like you do all these outward signs. For example, in our current time, it might be people hosting barbecues for the homeless people, like a church hosting a barbecue, or like a lot of churches will help with natural disasters, cleanups and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with doing that, but that's on the surface. That's like what it comes down to, like all those disasters and war and everything is a punishment for sin, for transgression against God's commandments. But it's like you're just doing the outward thing. You're leaving aside the greater matter, the weightier matter, which is judgment, mercy, and faith. So if you give a homeless guy a sandwich, you are feeding him for 5 minutes, you've done something nice, but like in reality, that is filthy rags. That's your own works. What are the works God wants you to do? He wants you to keep the 10 Commandments, share the gospel of peace, the glad tidings, which is the 10 Commandments, and to eat clean, so no unclean flesh. Share that with other people. Fulfill the royal law by sharing that and rebuking and correcting believers that claim to be followers of God and Yeshua, but they don't actually obey, or they go against those commandments. Then you rebuke them to correct them. But if you're not doing those things, it's all for nothing, really. Like, yeah, that's great, but you're leaving aside the weightier matter. So if you want to be called greatest in the kingdom, and that your righteousness has to exceed that of the Pharisees, don't be a hypocrite. Don't be someone that does these outward works to appear benevolent. Actually love people biblically by rebuking sin, correcting them. That's Leviticus 19:15-18, and James 2:8-9. That's the royal law. And it's also teaching the commandments, keeping them yourself, so that you take the log out of your eye and you're not a hypocrite. Yeah.